Hello, my friends. Today it's reported that Kellogg is set to arrive in Kyiv on February 20. Kellogg will visit Ukraine on February 20. The visit of Special Representative Kellogg is scheduled for February 20, a date proposed by the American side. Earlier, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that Donald Trump's Special Representative for Russia and Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, and his team would soon arrive in Ukraine. Meanwhile, foreign media report that negotiations are already underway on ways for Kyiv to repay its debts for US aid. The Trump administration has begun talks on how Ukraine will repay American assistance. Rare earth metals are needed by Trump to compensate for the billions spent on aid to Ukraine, said Brian Hughes, a spokesperson for the White House National Security Council. He added that discussions began last weekend on the best way to ensure this repayment and what a potential reimbursement schedule might look like. Overall, as I mentioned in previous videos, Trump is not seeking to strengthen Ukraine or provide more weapons. This is simply a payment for past aid packages. And while the war continues, the situation on the front lines remains difficult, so let's start right away with the Pokrovsk direction. Unfortunately, Russian drones are still actively operating across the entire frontline territory. Reports indicate that in the area of the village of Sergiyevka, the Russians launched a drone strike on contractors who were building defensive fortifications. The front line is 6 kilometers away, yet additional defense lines are still being constructed. Additionally, the Russians continue the attacks near Kotliny and are storming Udachne, with battles ongoing near Novoalexandrivka. In the Myrnograd area, Russian forces are assaulting the villages of Promeny and Myrolubivka. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces haven't confirmed the loss of Baranivka, so over the past day there have been no new territorial changes. In the Kurakhove direction, Russian forces continue the assaults on Andriivka and fighting persists in Dachne, Zelenivka, and Rozliv. So far, the front line remains unchanged, but the situation here is catastrophic. The Ukrainian forces are trying to repel the attacks as much as possible. Meanwhile, Russian troops are heavily shelling Constantinople, the only road left for a possible retreat from the encirclement. In the Velika Novosilka direction, the Russians continue shelling and launching assaults on Novosilka. However, there have been no changes over the past day as the Ukrainian forces have successfully repelled all attacks. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, Russian activity remains high. They are attempting to advance through the fields toward Malatokmachka and Novodanilivka. Shelling continues, but no territorial changes have been reported in the past 24 hours. In the Kherson direction, only shelling has been reported. So far, there are no new attempts to break through to the islands or the right bank. We'll have to wait and see how the situation develops. Now, moving to the Toretsk direction, here the Russians continue their attempts to advance into Shcherbenivka. They are also trying to push toward the settlement of Klebanbyk, but there have been no changes along the front line as the Ukrainian forces continue to repel all attacks. In the Chasiv Yar direction, heavy fighting continues for the central part of the city, with the Russians attempting to break through to Stupochki and Protechine. However, they haven't achieved any success, and the situation remains unchanged over the past day. Chasiv Yar Intense battles persist over high-rise buildings in the western part of the city. One residential block southwest and west of the area has been completely lost, while another is partially occupied. The defense forces still control about 1.5 blocks. Elsewhere, fierce fighting is ongoing. Our troops had to retreat from the stadium, unfortunately allowing the Russians to advance toward the Shevchenko district and or attempt a flanking maneuver to refractory plant workshop number 2. The Russians have also engaged in battles for the Novopivnichny district, where they made partial gains. Meanwhile, Russian forces are trying to push against our units defending along the Bakhmut-Konstantinivka highway. However, a strong response has been delivered and the Russians have made no progress there in recent days. As we can see, the battle for Chasiv Yar is far from over. Yes, the city center and the refractory plane's main workshops, which provide elevated positions, have been lost. However, there are still defensive lines further ahead. Currently, the Russians are gathering forces to push along the road towards Stupochka. Our troops are fully prepared to meet them with all available means of destruction. That's good. In the Siversk direction, no notable activity has been reported and the front line remains unchanged. In the Liman direction, Russian forces are storming Yampolivka and attempting to break through in the Serebryanka forest. However, no new assaults have been recorded near Zelena Dolina and the village of Kolodezi, where the Russians appear to be amassing reserves. In the Burova direction, Russian troops are attacking Boguslavka and advancing near Lozova. However, further south, there is no activity at all, and the front line has remained unchanged over the past day. In the Kupiansk direction, Russian forces are assaulting Petropavlivka and Novoosinovo, but have made no progress, leaving the situation unchanged over the past day. Meanwhile, near Dvorichna, no new Russian offensives have been reported as they continue to amass reserves, but Ukrainian forces warn that if the Russians maintain its current rate of advance, significant problems could arise in this sector. In the Kharkiv direction, the situation remains relatively calm. Shelling continues, but no new offensives have been recorded. The only reported attacks are in Vovchansk, where Ukrainian forces have successfully repelled all assaults, keeping the front line stable over the past 24 hours. In the Kursk direction, Russian forces continue launching around 10 assaults per day, but no significant changes have been reported. Ukrainian forces are holding their defensive positions, and President Zelensky stated that the Kursk operation is crucial and will play a role in future negotiations.
Tomorrow marks 6 months since the start of the operation in the Kursk direction, an extremely important operation. You will see, when we reach diplomatic negotiations to end the war, what conditions the Russians will set for Ukraine regarding Kursk. This has been a crucial step. I don't like using the word historic lightly, as Ukraine's entire struggle is historic. So, I won't call this operation historic, but it has certainly been very important. I am grateful to all the soldiers defending our territory, including those involved in the Kursk operation. Regarding the situation in Kursk, we are maintaining stability and will continue to do so. Russian forces are suffering heavy losses, far greater than they publicly admit. Their Korean mercenaries are scattering, and we see it happening. Additionally, long-range strikes have hit critical enemy command posts. We appreciate both our domestic production and the assistance provided by our partners in achieving this. Currently, there are about 60,000 Russian troops in the Kursk direction, possibly even more. This has helped stabilize the situation in the Kharkiv region. Of course, Russian strikes on Kupiansk and Izium continue, and my condolences go out to the families affected by recent losses. Their missile attacks have not stopped, but their ground forces have weakened. Today, we maintain control over the situation not only in Kharkiv but also in some areas of Donetsk, though Donetsk remains the most difficult front. Importantly, we are holding firm in Zaporizhzhia, and the situation there has improved.
Zelensky also claims that Putin wants to drag Belarus into the war and is not planning to end the war in this way.
He will continue with this. He will think about other countries. I am sure of that. I'm warning you about this openly, frankly. I understand what's going to happen. You'll see, he will provoke other countries. Poland might be next, or the Baltic countries. And this is not just some usual rhetoric. You'll see, in spring, summer, or fall, he will position forces on Belarusian territory. Many Europeans and the United States may say it's just intimidation. It's intimidation of Poland, Lithuania, and other Baltic partners. But you'll see, he will do everything to drag them in, he'll figure out how to provoke them. I don't know if there will be an invasion, but in any case, he will drag Belarus into the war this way. Although, in my opinion, after they attacked Ukraine with a missile, they were already in this war. But their people, no, their military, not yet. But Putin really wants this. And that's why I think we must do everything to stop him. And when it comes to percentages, we must think about ourselves, first and foremost. Yes, today, countries are helping Ukraine because they are thinking about themselves. The UK is no exception. I don't know how many percentages you need. 2, 3. Listen, we're spending our entire budget today. I think that's the answer. If you don't want to spend the entire budget on defense in the future, spend today the percentage that's necessary today to strengthen your defense.
It's interesting, though, how Ukraine is spending its entire defense budget when it's also funding movie productions, marathons, and other things. Friends, what do you think about this? Be sure to share your opinion in the comments. Despite the upcoming negotiations, Zelensky continues to state that Ukraine will never recognize the occupied territories as Russian.
Absolutely, we are reasonable people. We can't sacrifice millions of our people for a result that's unclear if it will even happen. This is not today. And so today, we cannot violate the oath we made to the people who gave their lives for us in this war. We cannot violate the constitution of Ukraine, and we cannot recognize the territories occupied by Russia as Russian territories. Yes, we know these are temporarily occupied territories, and that's why they are temporary. And legally, regardless of the circumstances and what Putin or anyone else abroad wants, legally, we will never recognize these territories as Russian. There's no question of compromise or non-compromise here. There can be no compromises on state sovereignty. As for time, yes, unfortunately, the support we're receiving from our partners today is not enough to completely expel Putin from our territories.
Friends, what's your opinion on this? Be sure to share it in the comments. And that's all from me. So please, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.